Hello everyone, welcome to Gradeup, welcome to our final lap for CAT 2020. Thank you for joining us for our final revision sets. Today of course we're going to be doing practice set 9 out of our 10 practice sets on VARC, and I'm Savitri Krishnamurty. I am a VARC mentor with about more than 26 years of experience in teaching test prep. I have mentored many students and look forward to mentoring you too. All right, you can find me on Gradeup, watch all my videos on Gradeup and I hope you'd find it helpful for your CAT preparation. All right, how many of you in? Give me a heads up before we start. No one in yet, or no one in? All right. As you know, we are doing a final revision set. Check out CAT 2020 revision series playlist for the complete set of classes, sessions that we've taken, where we've covered the most expected questions. We've done mock test analysis, we've done day-wise revision. We will be doing and strategies to attempt the exam every day at 5:30, 7 and 9 p.m. Subscribe to our Gradeup channel, download our Gradeup app, stay tuned to Gradeup. Remember, on November 29th, we will be there with you throughout. Before the exam, we have been there. During the exam, of course, you're on your own. But immediately after the exam, we will be doing analysis of each of the slots. Shift 1, the analysis will be at 10:45, Shift 2 at 2:45 and Shift 3 at 6:45. So all of you who are taking CAT, make sure you take it, come back immediately, tune in to Gradeup and follow us on our live analysis, which would help you figure out how you have done. All right. We will continue our revision in the same manner that we've done the earlier revision sets. I will give you about 45 seconds to a minute to read the passages, and then, hello Harish, 45 seconds to a minute to read the passages, and then the questions. You answer all the questions and then only we discuss the passage. All right? Okay. Time starts now. Start reading the first slide of the first passage. Yeah, start. All right, shall we move on to the next slide? Utkarsh Kavita, did you join us just now, or shall I move on to the next slide? I will move on to the next slide. Okay, start. Again, I will give you a minute. Ashay, I'll show you the slides once again. Okay, just keep on reading from wherever you've started. I'll show you the entire passage again for half a minute each slide. All right, next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. All right. For those of you who joined us late today's class, I'll give you 30 seconds per slide again. Okay. So you can start reading. Start. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, next slide. Okay. All right. All of you are happy with what you read? You have a good idea of what is the main point of the passage? So, we've done this so many times. First thing, after you read the passage, you need to just ensure that, okay, what was the passage about? Journalism. What is the author saying about journalism? What examples has he taken to make his point about journalism? These are the answers you should know by the time you finish reading the passage. I hope all of you have. Question 1. Which one best sums up the purpose of citing examples in the passage? He has given a lot of examples in the passage. Which one shows why, what is the function of those examples? Look at the options, mark your answers, and then I'll move on to the next question. A. The Spanish-American War is often cited as the first press-driven war. The media houses fight tooth and nail to make it to the front page. Sensationalism, scandal-mongering, exaggerations are the lifeline of media. An exaggerated, exploitative, sensational style of reporting circumvented integrity. What is the purpose of those examples? To show what? Whether to show that Spanish-American War was the first press-driven war, or to show that media houses fight tooth and nail to make it to the front page, or to show that sensationalism, scandal mongering, exaggerations are the lifeline of the media, or to show that an exaggerated, exploitative, sensational style of reporting circumvented integrity. I've got one answer so far. Please type in your answers before we move on to the next question. I can only see one answer. Doesn't matter if you make a mistake. What do you think is the answer? Just type it in. So, what are the examples he has given? Try to remember. The first one on there is nothing happening here, that guy said. He said, no, just send the pictures. I will write the story. Right? Second one was showing one side, plundering and pillaging and refusing for whatever the reason. So, he is given 3-4 examples. Okay, based on that, what is the answer? I've got all the answers A, B, C, D so far. All right, no one on the other side. No one has answered. Muhammad Qureshi, what's your answer? Doesn't matter if you're wrong. Just see where, if you make a mistake, we'll find out why you made the mistake, right? Okay, Bhattacharya, Z.S. Bhattacharya, your answer is in. All right, can we move on to the next question then? Shall we? Okay. Question 2. Which of the following is the author likely to agree with, except? Remember, in CAT, do not forget this dangerous word. Otherwise, you'll mark the first correct answer. Correct means what is the author likely to agree with. He is asking, author will agree with all except. Which one will he not agree with is what he is asking. In a bid to acquire his first sensational piece of news, an inexperienced reporter presented a gift to the commander-in-chief of the Cuban rebel forces. Is it correct or wrong? Americans by and large were apprehensive about America's intervention in World War I. Does the author agree with that or not? The rectitude, honesty of the mainstream media is rarely left unquestioned by the staunchest of media critics. Or D. American newspapers engaging in yellow journalism claimed that the Spanish were responsible for the sinking of Maine. Which one is the author not likely to agree with? Question 2. Is it A, B, C or D? Which one is the author least likely to agree with? Or which one is the author not going to agree with? He's going to agree with 3 of them. Which one is the exception? Do you want me to take you back to the passage? See, do you want to see any part of the passage? Let me know. Okay. I've only seen 2 answers so far. Quickly, guys. There are 15 of you on the app and many more on YouTube. I want to see all the answers. Okay, shall we move on to the third question? I do not know why you are so silent today. All right, question 3. What can you infer from the passage? Which of the following can you infer from the passage? Cubans engaged in an irregular warfare, guerrilla warfare, as small groups of combatants to fight the traditional American army. Spanish General Weyler was purposely maligned by the journalists as they were denied admittance by him. New York World was a leading newspaper in America which too engaged in yellow journalism. Or the American press, there are more than one option of course. American press engaged in crude and vulgar reporting of personal relationships. Can you infer 1? Can you infer 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 4? What combination would you go with? Quickly, give me the question number with your answers. If you want me to take you back to some part of the passage, let me know. Come on, guys. Can you infer 1? Cubans engaged in an irregular warfare. Let's go back to the passage, right? Cubans engaged in guerrilla warfare. Has he mentioned? No, not here. Somewhere here. Okay. Cuban rebel forces. The Cubans engaged in guerrilla warfare. Was it against the Americans? Was it against the Americans? Against the Spanish colonial occupiers, right? Next one, what does the answer say? A Spanish general was purposely maligned by the journalists. Has they mentioned that? Where has he mentioned? Spanish general, answer is here. Look at it and see if you can infer. Prerna, what do you want me to repeat? Why don't read and see if you can infer option 2. Thank you, Akash. Can you infer option 2? If you can, then you say, okay, option 2 is done. Next is the Americans. New York World was a leading newspaper in America which also engaged in yellow journalism. Has he mentioned anything about New York World? He has. Did he say that the New York World engaged in yellow journalism? Read. Where has he mentioned New York World? And did he talk about yellow journalism? New York World was where Hearst was working, he mentioned. But did he say and he talked about yellow journalism in another place. So from both of them, can you infer that the New York World engaged in yellow journalism or not? Okay, so question is asking which one can be inferred from the passage. Based on your things, see all of these, some students have written D or anything else. Quickly mark your answers. Both. On both sides, I want the app and the YouTube guys. There's no difference here between who. I just want to see all answers in 9th, and I have just one more class with you. Therefore, one more revision class. I have plenty more classes. But okay. Sai Harish thinks it's B. Utkash thinks it's C. I'm not seeing any answers on this side. Quickly, guys. Question 3. Give me the answer. Then I'm doing another passage which we've done before, but where the students seem to have lots of issues. So they wanted me to do it again. Okay. Priya thinks it's B. Aditya, Akash, Z.S. Bhattacharya, Muhammad Qureshi, where are your answers? Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, just try and tell me from your reading of the passage what it is, and then I'll analyze the passage properly for you. Shall we move on? Okay, question 4. What is the tone of the author? Subjective, analytical, sarcastic, or narrative? What is the tone of the author? Subjective, where he gives certain personal opinions on people. Sarcastic is also a form of subjective, but is he being sarcastic in his subjectivism or not? Or it doesn't matter, you can still answer. Okay, is he being narrative? What is the tone? What is the topic? Journalism, and especially journalism of the past, and whether they reported properly and what they did. What is the author's attitude towards that? That is his tone. How does he describe that? Would you say it's analytical, sarcastic, narrative, or subjective? Quickly give me your answers for question 4. A, B, C, or D. And then I'll analyze the passage for you, and we'll see where and why you made mistakes. Because the second passage I've already done. It's a repetition. Alright? Okay, so tone is obviously one. I've got so many answers so far, not happy with any of them. You may be right, but let's see, find out. Alright, I've seen some answers. Alright, I'll explain how to answer the tone. Okay, let's go back to the passage. This is how you should read it. First passage, he says that American president and intern, he's obviously talking of Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. He says even the most respectable newspapers and TV channel programs seem ribald, that means indecent, lewd, okay. But he says these reports of the modern newspapers and television is tame, बहुत फीका है, compared to the excesses of covered 100 years ago. 100 years ago, the press and the way they wrote, the exaggerated versions were terrible, and this Monica Lewinsky and Clinton wala, the coverage is nothing. It's very tame compared to what happened. In fact, at that time, these excesses in reporting incited, instigated, it provoked the Spanish-American War. Many American history students will tell you about the famous or infamous telegraph exchange. Those were the days of the telegraph, between William Randolph Hearst, the publisher of the New York Journal, and Freddie Remington, the great illustrator, who was dispatched to Cuba. So, the newspaper publisher Hearst sent Remington to Cuba to cover the Cuban guerrilla uprising against the Spanish. This Remington sent a telegram home saying there is no war, there will be no war, so there's nothing for me to paint, I'm going to come home. And all Hearst told him is, you just furnish the pictures, you just send the pictures, I will furnish the war, I will create it. And that's what he did, with screaming headlines and inaccurate articles that fanned the American conflict with Spain. Then, like today, just like today, journalistic competition was intense and people wanted to give the first breaking news, the first headline, and which led to the publication of unconfirmed news. It also led to the publication of wholly fabricated reports, made up. To fabricate is to make up, to concoct, to create. If you attended our vocabulary classes, you would know that this is a word that I have used as something that has been asked in passages quite often. Something that even the most, now here is where a question was there, an answer option was there. Something that even the most tenacious media critics today rarely allege of mainstream media. Even the most determined critics of modern media will not accuse the modern media of making up reports, total false reports. Nobody would do that. That's what he's saying. Means in those days, there was way more false news, made up news, concocted news than now. This is the main part of the first slide. Second slide, he says, Many of the reporters who covered the Cuban uprising had front page ink in their minds, not ethics. All they thought was headlines. This is not ensure, it is to ensure. So to ensure access to the guerrilla camps of Cuba, they gave them medicine, they gave them rum, everything, so that they could have access, they could go inside and find out. Hearst even sent a sword with diamond-studded ivory handle to the general, the commander of the Cuban rebel force. And Payne volunteered to present the sword to the rebel leader to get his first big scoop. So young reporters would give bribes so that they get scoops or stories. Then he says that the Hearst paper shamelessly attached Havana datelines to byline stories creatively manufactured. So basically, they made up lies about the Cuban uprising. And then they tried to free a 17-year-old Cuban girl who was imprisoned for inciting rebellion, and they managed to help her escape, and that again became a sensational headline news. So they made news and they made up news. The journal, the New York Journal, he's still talking about Hearst's paper. He says it demonized, sorry, let me get this going. It demonized, made a demon out of somebody. It demonized, one sec, just give me, General Valeriano, who was sent by Spain to put down the rebellion in Cuba. Now, General Weyler was bad. He ordered huts and fields to be burned, and he also put prisoners, peasants in squalid, very dirty camps. But the rebels also did the same, which was not covered by the correspondence. Why? Because General Weyler drew particular scorn from the correspondence. They were not happy with him because he refused to give them access to the battlefields. And when some of the reporters were imprisoned, immediately American headlines said, oh, look at this, Americans have become the targets of Spanish oppression. So they built up a pre-war hysteria. They put up false news, just as years later Americans put up false news of German troops harassing Belgian nuns, because Americans at that time the American public was not happy about America joining World War I. So the newspapers gave all these stories, false stories, just to build up anti-German sentiment. Then he goes and talks about tabloid journalism. Now, can you relate tabloid journalism to what that guy did? That guy sensationalized it, but tabloid journalism or yellow journalism was about, it reached its peak on Nadir in sensationalistic reporting of the sinking of the American battleship Maine in Havana Harbor on 15th October 1898. All the egregious reporting led to the Spanish-American War. Everyone writes false tales, but he says this would have been funny had it not led to such a serious war. All right. Now, in the questions that follow, there are one or two options which are not perfect. All right. But you get imperfect options in CAT also. All right. What is the purpose of citing the examples? We saw all those examples, right? This A is obviously not correct. To tell that it's a press-driven war is not the main purpose. Is it to show how media houses fight tooth and nail? He said they do, but the examples he gave were all about the New York Journal, right? Are they the lifeline of all media? He is talking of media in the past. Therefore, the answer best is how sensational style of reporting circumvented, went around integrity, bypassed integrity. Ethics and integrity were kept in the sidelines. So the best option among this is D. Got it? All right. Question 2. The author is likely to agree with everything except. First one, definitely he gave the sword, and then the young journalist Payne wanted to give it to earn a scoop. So you can infer this. This you can infer. That is why they gave the story of the harassment of Belgian nurses, so that Americans would say, oh, these are terrible, German troops are terrible. So the uneasiness and the hesitation to join American World War, for America to join World War I would go. So second also can be. But this, he says, nowadays even the staunchest media critics do not question. Here he is saying their attitude is rarely left unquestioned, exactly the opposite of what the author has said. He says nowadays not even the greatest critics of mainstream media would accuse media of totally making up news. They accuse you of exaggeration, but do not accuse you of totally making up news. But in those days they used to do it. So C is the answer for 2. Not many got it right, some did. Now this is not a perfect question, but 1, because what is stated cannot be said to be inferred, and second is not the perfect question. But let's see. This you can't infer 1 because the Cuban did guerrilla warfare against the Spanish, not against the Americans. So 1 cannot be inferred. So this will go out. This is correct. Purposely. Remember, purposefully and purposely are different. Purposefully means with intention. You are working purposefully, deliberate, with a deliberate intention. Purposely means deliberately. So there is a difference. Purposely is a better word than purposefully. We do not know whether it also engaged in yellow journalism, but it did. New York Journal he talked about. He talked about New York World being a leading newspaper. So you cannot infer, 3. And 4 of course you do. So 2 and 4. So the answer is B. Understood? Alright, next one. Author's tone. Many got it wrong except probably 2 or 3 students. Now, if it is analytical, remember in analytical the author's personal opinion cannot be known. Analytical passages are often objective. It's like a newspaper report. A newspaper's report is objective and analytical, but an editorial cannot be called analytical, because in an editorial, unless the editor is really analyzed, but he normally takes a side and he tells his opinion, he criticizes or he praises somebody. In this, the author is clearly criticizing the journalism that happened 100 years ago, and he says this now also it's bad, but believe me, what happened 100 years back was very bad. So the author is expressing a bias. He is deeply critical of what they were, and he used a lot of adjectives to show his disapproval of what happened. So his tone is subjective, not analytical. He has given his opinions, and in that subjective, the opinions he has given are primarily negative. So he is extremely critical of the entire journalism, sensationalistic journalism, and what journalists did to get the headlines. He is not being sarcastic, he is directly criticizing them. So it cannot be called sarcastic. There is a little bit of narration, but the tone cannot be called. Therefore, the answer is subjective. He's pointing out all the flaws and says, you know, they did this, and the adjectives he uses show that he was being negative about it. So the answer is A, subjective. So first, when you're asked a tone question, identify what is the subject of the passage. Then ask yourself, what is the author talking about that subject? Is he talking in praise? Yes, sarcastic is indirect criticism. It is twisting something. Yeah, it is verbal irony basically. So ask yourself, what is the author saying? What is the subject? What is the author saying about it? Positive things or negative things? If it is, you can't figure out the author's personal opinion, only then you will call it analytical. Alright, so here it's subjective, and critical is a subsect of subjective. Got it? Okay, now this we've done before. Many of you might have seen it, but a lot of people had an issue with this. So let's quickly again read through it for maybe 30 seconds. You might have seen, most of you might have seen it before. Objective is neutral, no sides taken. 100 people die as bus crashes into river. You don't know what's happening in the reporter's mind. So that is neutral and not really seem to be taking sides. That is objective. All right, quickly, 30 seconds start or 40 seconds, quickly we'll go through this, okay, and I'll just do the questions, no analyzing the passage. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Yeah, many have solved it, but then a lot of students had a lot of issues with this passage, which is why I am doing it just one more time quickly. Tomorrow's passages are totally new, nothing we've done before. We have a class tomorrow too, the last of the revision sets. But just quickly go through this and then we'll move on to the questions. Oh, done, is it? Okay. All right. So if you had to sum up the passage quickly, India, China, what India should do to try to, get a better balance in its relationship with China, right? Okay. Which one of the following is untrue, not true according to the passage? China wants India to occupy a position corresponding to its stature. The author has mentioned it. India has not been able to register a presence in UNSC because of China's intervention. China has showed that it has said it's willing to mediate between India and Pakistan. The author says India should do as China did. It says what are the things India is doing, but China's intervention cannot keep. One of the reasons is doesn't want, but he's not saying India is not being able to register presence. That is something different. All right, so B is the answer. Question 6. What is an appropriate title? Now, if you ask me, none of the topics are really good. So you have to choose the best of bad options, as CAT normally does. So when you are asked to choose a title for the passage, this is a question that students have often asked. How do you choose it? The title should tell you the story of the passage. So you should have a title in mind and seek an option which is closest to that title. Now the author is talking of many diplomatic initiatives to win over China. Okay, now to me appropriate title would have India and China, these words in it. None of the options have that, because at the end of the day it's about India and China, India-China relations, and what India should do to get an upper hand, or at least to get a kind of a sense of balance in its relationship with China. That is not given here. Therefore, between the best of, among the best of bad options. Being Atmanirbhar is one of the things India is doing, but that cannot be. Big takeaway from what? Lesson. Takeaway is the lesson you learn from what? He's talking of more than one initiative, so it cannot be a bold. Seeking a fine balance is also too general, doesn't really tell you the story of the passage, but it is the best of bad options. Seeking a finer balance in its relationship with China, seeking a finer balance in Indo-China relations would have made the topic title perfect. Alright, so sometimes you have to go with it. Sometimes seeking a finer balance would be too general if you have a better option than this. Alright, okay. What can you infer in order to achieve independence? It or India. Has he said to achieve economic independence? India's vendetta can come to a halt. Did it talk about vendetta with Pakistan? India is not in a position to challenge China head on. Yes, the author says it, and therefore should work in a calibrated manner. Okay. Now, normally the CAT question setter would not use the word calibrated because it's already been used in the passage. So, he would use some other in a measured, what is it called? Measured, paced manner. Something would say. All right. It did not say anything about redefining on territorial rights, therefore that is irrelevant. So 7, the answer is C. What is the inherent assumption about economic decoupling? What is the assumption? We becoming vendetta means revenge. Seeking vendetta means seeking revenge. Alright, there's a very nice movie, right? V for Vendetta. Okay. So which one? What was the assumption? Why are we decoupling? Because anyway we are not benefiting from it. All right, therefore let's move away. Okay. The tone of the author, again, advisory would have been best. वो तो नहीं है. Suggestive, no, he is not suggestive. It's just implying he has openly given advice. Okay, it is informative, true, but the passage is about Indo-China relations and the author has suggested many steps. Therefore, when he says this is what you should do, this is what you should do. So, exhortatory means to urge you on. Okay, I hope my tone would be exhortatory or exhortative before an exam for a student, because for English at least, you need reassurance. You actually don't. What you have practiced so far is good, and in the next few days just take mocks. Have faith in yourselves and in your ability to focus, and you will do it. You just need to focus on the day of the exam. All right. So suggestive is almost like it's implying. It's not strong enough for the tone of the author. Okay. Advise is better, advisory is better. It's almost inherent implied advice, therefore it's not correct. No, exhort is to urge, to push you, to inspire you, to urge you to do something, which is what he is doing. India should do this, India should do that. Okay, that's what he is doing. Okay. All right. Next, how do you attempt a summary passage? Read the passage given to you and try to identify the main points, and based on that you look at an option which has all the main points of the passage and no misrepresentation of facts as it is given in the passage. All right. So I'll give you about 2 minutes to read the passage and then I'll show you the options. 1.5 minutes to read the passage. Yes, persuade by urging, by inspiring somebody to do something. to make you feel better, reassured. You're assured, and then I'll say you have some doubts, and I'll make you feel positive about yourself. I'll give you assurance again and again, so you feel satisfied. That is reassurance. All right. So till one time, China was the world's only superpower after the world's Roman Empire fell. Next, when European society rose and United States rose, at the beginning of the new millennium, China has again risen to the top, but foreigners are afraid of China, and for two reasons. One, either they are blinded by China and its potential, or they are scared of it. All right, it has the makings of a great reason, but on the exterior, but inside, you can see that it is on the verge of collapse. This is what he's saying. So, which option sums up those facts best without misrepresenting any part of what has been given? Read and tell me. At the end, yes. So overall, which one sums up the which one is the perfect summary? Which one gives the main point of the passage best? Main points of the passage without misrepresenting any facts, given it as it is given. I've seen one answer from Akash so far. Where are the others? Quickly, before we move on to the para jumbles. Only one para jumble today. What is wrong with second option? Did he say this? Did he say this? People are fascinated by its history, other threatened by its population. Wrong. Therefore, the correct one is 3. It's bound to collapse. He didn't say it's in shambles downright. That's an extreme word, right? 3 is the closest. Yes. All right. Tough one, but try to get it right. Para jumbles. It is 5-sentence para jumbles. I will give you 1.5 minutes. Fall of the Roman Empire is the same as demise of the Romans, right? Try to find links, try to find 2 sentences that go together, then try to build it up by identifying which one do you think is the first, and then but read the jumbled up sequence carefully so that you don't miss any word which would help you to tie it to another sentence. We are made of the same substance as every other being. We'll eventually merge with it. The idea then is not save nature, but to align with it and understand how we are one. We are connected not just in an abstract way, but in a very real manner. What we inhale comes from plants, and what we exhale goes to them, creating incredible cycles of life. Even the hemoglobin that we thrive on actually comes from the stars that exploded millennia ago. The idea of saving nature presumes that we are outside of it, or that we actually have some control over it. Can anyone prevent the sun from rising? Hindu philosophy and nature are similar in their essence: the vision of oneness, the idea of interconnectedness, and intelligent laws that govern the universe. So definitely looks like a good starting statement. Okay, or stop the cells. So this is a question, or stop the cells in our body. So you definitely have 3, 5 going together, right? Then where would 2 go? The Hindu philosophy and nature are similar in their essence. We are not connected just in an abstract way, but in a very real manner. 4, 2, 3, 5, 1. All right, 4 in the end? No, 4 at the beginning. So the question is it definitely 3 and 5 have to go together, because 3 has a question: can anyone prevent the sun from rising or stop the cells in our body from multiplying every second? So 3 and 5 go together, 4 and 2 go together. So you would say 4, 2, 3, 5, 1. Now the point here is 4, 1, if you put, you can't connect 2 with it. So you say that we are connected, that Hindu philosophy and nature are similar. We are connected. And this we are made of the same substance. This one is the most difficult one. So where would we put it? If you put it at the end, save nature. No, don't talk of saving nature. You are one with nature. So it is 4, 2, 3, 5, 1. All right. 4 is definitely the starting. 3, 5 goes together. The 1 is the one that kills us. That is where we all are going wrong. Sai, it can be, but the problem is the one that you're talking, the original passage is with us, and this is how it is put in the original passage. 1 actually cannot be put anywhere, if you ask me, because it goes very well with we are connected and we are made of the same substance. So I would put 1 in the middle, but the actual passage puts it right at the end. So it's okay. 3 and 5 go together. All right. Okay. You have a lot of discounts happening. Those of you who want to take the Gradeup green card, which is an online test series, one would be perfect in the middle. I thought I made a mistake too, but the original passage is what puts 1 right at the end. That's the problem. And this is where we all make mistakes in the 5-sentence para jumbles. Okay, hopefully next class I will do the para jumbles first and then the VARC later. All right, so lots of discounts on Gradeup green card, which will give you online test series for CAT and non-CAT exams. The non-CAT exams are coming around the corner. Should be very helpful. Just have a look at it. All right, coming up, if you know anyone or if you yourself are planning CAT 2021, then we have batches starting for CAT 2021. We have our non-CAT batch which started on 9th November. For IIFT, TISNET, CMAT and all that. And of course, we have our GK and current affairs course, which will come in handy for your IIFT and Xavier's exam. All right. So all the best. I will see you very soon in tomorrow's class. Yes, Akash. All right. So I shall see you very soon. Should see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have new passages, new questions and para jumbles, of course. All right. So keep doing those mocks, keep analyzing those mocks, subscribe to our YouTube channel, download our latest app. If you are a student, then you know that we have lots and lots of tests, classes and courses happening. The last leg, all of us are are totally into it, right? So take care. Okay, make sure you attend our classes. I will see you tomorrow. And do join fast, because you know that I start the class exactly on time. I may not end it on time, but okay guys, see you then. Bye bye. Make sure you download our app, and if you like the class, do press the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Bye.